welcome to another installment of the Fragments of Silicon reviews. 4 reviews up this week. The first of which is a game called Chicken Bomb. Not to be confused with the Chicken Bomb recipe, which is a real recipe for chicken. Obviously, it's a spicy one. Or to be confused with Bomb Chicken, which is another actual game, but that's a chicken-based platformer that involves bombs. Chicken Bomb here, this is, if you're not looking at the footage right this second, this is a Bomberman game, basically. In fact, on the Steam page, it admits it's a Bomberman game. Or if you want to genreize it, it's a top-down action game. Though action being pretty relative here, because Bomberman games have always been a bit on the slow side. At least initially.
When they're not slow, you're probably about to die.
Yes. That's some high level play. But yeah. Chicken Bomb is about a chicken who is blowing things up. I'm not sure if you're ever really given a reason why you're blowing up the animals that you are blowing up. You visit other than that they will kill you if you don't kill them.
Survival of the fittest and whatnot.
And likewise, there's no reason given why a chicken is laying bombs instead of eggs, though, as you'd expect, there are egg-themed power-ups. And, in terms of mechanics, there's not much to state here if you know the shorthand. But if you've never played a Bomberman game before, you basically have a grid-based level. There are various obstacles and enemies that you blow up. Also, your bombs are lethal to you, so you need to make sure that you are not in the way. I'm like, you will learn this one way or another.
It's not that big of an issue. Well, okay, there's one time it's a big issue right at the beginning of a game, which is when you accidentally trap yourself in a dead end that you can't get out of.
Yeah, and this game likes doing that a lot.
But yeah, it becomes much more important when your explosion radius gets larger.
Yeah. I mean, mind you, this game does differ from the Bomberman games, and not just what it adds, but it's got more modern. I hesitate to use the word game design because it's not design, but it's game implementation. The levels are procedurally generated. Each level is different.
See, that's a little rough because while that's okay for some things, some versions of the Bomberman gameplay, the games very frequently, I would say usually, have a mode in which everything is intentionally constructed as a puzzle. Right.
That's like most Bomberman.
Like Bomberman is not just an action game; it is a puzzle action game.
Right. You got to figure some stuff out here, and that is present. It's there's no memorization. It's more about blowing up the enemies more than blowing up the blocks, if I'm being honest. And there are various critters based off of various animals to blow up, and they do have their different movements. Like trying to think what the baby foxes or. They will gun for you versus the insects that are more lackadaisical, that kind of thing. Different enemies have different AIs. So what this game brings to the Bomberman table are RPG elements. I'm not sure if there's a Bomberman game proper that used RPG elements. It wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, define RPG elements.
Like the barest of RPG elements, RPG elements in their purest form, you do upgrades to various stats. But you can upgrade your hit points. You can upgrade your bombs in various.
There were the Bomberman RPGs that were in the Game Boy Advance era, but I think they used slightly different except for maybe hit points. I think they used slightly different stat systems.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Also, you had little bomb monsters that you raised, and that was weird.
That's definitely a post-Pokemon, post-Sonic Adventure.
It absolutely was, yes.
But the thing is, this game is indicating that it's specifically basing itself off of the Super NES Bomberman games, which didn't have RPG elements,
Right.
unless they added that to one of the ones that didn't come over here. Like the Super Bomberman 5, and yes, there was that's as high as they went. Anyway. But yeah, this thing, you can upgrade your hit points, so you can have you can have bombs that explode, but you not necessarily die from them. You just take a certain amount of damage. Now, mind you, you can also upgrade your attack power in the same way, so you can negate that. So that's a balancing act. And there are other things like you can permanently increase the range of your bombs, but there are a few stats that you don't automatically upgrade with one ability point. You have to put in 4. I think the other one is speed. I know one of the ones was definitely expanding your bomber range, because that's definitely a thing that can go out of control pretty quickly. If you've ever played a Bomberman game, if you don't pay attention. No, I think we've all blown ourselves up more than once, more than twice, probably lost count, if we're being honest, about misjudging how exploding your bombs get.
Yep.
And it's a fine addition. It does introduce a modicum of strategy to the game.
It's not even always a matter of misjudging the size. Sometimes it's a matter of, I can lay more than one bomb now, and oops, I accidentally chained things together in a way that I didn't expect.
Yeah, that's another thing you can permanently upgrade, the amount of bombs you can lay. And yeah, it's all about balancing things out. Or, if you want to go for one of the super abilities, you wanting to put 4 points in to get one, explosion block versus, upping your HP a whole bunch.
See, Pettyfan just did it.
Right.
The thing where at the very start there's an enemy near you, so you panic and lay a bomb and then move off it into a way that you can't get out of.
Yeah.
Quiet you.
No, that absolutely happens, and that
happens. No, I'm not saying you did a dumb. I'm saying it's a Bomberman game. That's a thing that happens unless you're amazingly good at Bomberman games.
No, and it happens in this game more because the way the level generation works is it usually puts the pots or the other obstacles way too close.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and those little
Bomberman games start with you in a fairly small space because you need to work your way out to get to where the other players are to give you some time to get some basic power-ups before you have any actual threats. But that kind of brings us to the other issue with this game, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
With that being, there's no multiplayer at all anyway, at all kinds.
Yeah. And that's really the biggest drawback of this game by a country mile, because, Bomberman's kind of been defined by having the multiplayer. Even though Bomberman didn't start out with multiplayer, the original Bomberman on the NES did not have multiplayer at all. That's a thing that didn't...
It was more strictly a puzzle and action game.
Yeah, that's a thing that got added with I think the TurboGrafx 16 version of Bomberman. But ever since it's been there, it's been considered to be a mainstay of the series, the defining trait.
People had fun with it.
Yeah. And there are Bomberman games that sold themselves on the ability to play, a huge amount of Bombermen.
There's a significant amount of the draw of it, or rather of the type of bomb laying action that the game has, there's only so much interesting that can be done with random enemies that behave randomly and don't even really attack, or even if there were other things that lay bombs, there's only so much that you can do with ones that are that are computer intelligent.
Right.
Also, I'm seeing the 3-star ranking system, and I'm wondering how the fuck you do a 3-star ranking system on a thing that's fucking randomly generated.
You find the stars.
I haven't. Yeah, it's like I haven't gotten to that, but yeah, the ranking system doesn't work like your typical ranking system. You don't worry about time or enemies beaten or anything like that. You literally find the stars on the field. You know.
Yeah. I mean, on one hand, I guess that's fairly harmless, but I guess that gives you an incentive to do more than just blow up the enemies.
Yeah. I'm not exactly sure what the rewards are for getting. Oh, right. No, I actually do. Like, you need to get stars in order to unlock future levels and worlds. Yeah. And if you don't find any stars, it will default you to 1 star. Yeah. So no, they're not just pointless pickups. You know, they work. They do work like your typical mobile rewards. You know, you get stars to unlock more stuff. It's just it's got a different implementation because once again, like, you'll note the chicken's moving pretty slow right now. Like,
yeah, I assume there's some kind of movement speed pickup.
Yes, you can not just a pickup. That's a stat. Mm-hmm. You know, you can increase.
Oh, right, yeah.
You know, once again, everything's tied to stats here. So that's stuff that will gradually get better. It's just, you know, it doesn't make things more compelling.
Are there any of the classic Bomberman non-numerical power-ups?
In terms of what exactly? Like
remote bombs, pick up and throw bombs, kick bombs.
I didn't see any of those.
Push bombs. They
could have been in later worlds. I gotta admit, I got bored with this game pretty fast. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine mechanically, but you know, that's all it is. You know, I'll be honest, a lot of Bomberman games single player modes bored me. Because, you know, especially like later on when you could tell that the emphasis was more on the multiplayer than in the single player. But, you know, I'm not saying that's bad or anything. It's just.
So is this a boss level with the giant yellow duck?
No. Those are actually regular enemies.
Okay, I was wondering because he's rather large.
Yeah, he's just a tougher enemy.
And does also lay his own egg bombs.
Yes. He will also damage himself at sometimes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm like.
Which I believe in most Bomberman games, when they have bosses that lay bombs, I believe they cheat that way.
Mm-hmm. Right. No. Yeah. Anyway. So, moving beyond the gameplay, the art style is curious, because it's going for a semi-realistic style. Like, it's not like it's kind of cartoony, but it's also kind of realistic, and I hate it.
Yeah, like the coloring on the chicken is really unappealing somehow.
Yeah.
I'm like, everything has this uncanny valley look. At least
the always say, yeah, this looks.
You know, maybe this appeals to somebody, but it ain't me. You know, but like, you know, and I'm not sure why this thing looks like this. You know. It screams less distinct art style and more. We rendered this in the mid-90s, to me. Especially the chicken. The chicken looks disturbingly realistic next to everything else. But
Mhm.
music, it was okay. Like, in spite of what the Steam blurbs say, I didn't find it all that memorable. And let's see,
Well, that's the kind of
pricing.
thing you just say for advertisement purposes.
I know. Well, it's like obviously nobody's going to advertise their music as being mediocre unless they're being trollish. Yeah.
Now
Anyway,
you've got me wondering if I would actually buy a game that advertised mediocre music.
I don't know.
For like honesty like, well, I guess I'll give them a little bit of credit for honesty.
Anyway, so pricing. Pricing is not a problem. This game clocks in at $5. If you like, I can say this game is worth $5. Maybe not worth more than that because once again, this is missing multiplayer. And I think I would have preferred handcrafted levels over random generation. You know, some method to the madness. Like, I don't know if there were any Bomberman games that use procedural generation.
I mean, you can use procedural generation for some things, but there should be some, like, actual put some work into it.
Well, procedural generation works better with enemy placement than the whole level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, honestly, none of these levels have their own flair outside of cosmetics. Like, you know, there are levels that'll move to Ice World and such. But, you know, you're probably not going to get all that different of a feel outside, you know, unless they introduce level gimmicks like sliding ice. You know, but it's not going to come from the design of the levels. Like, and ultimately, you know, this is where I'm coming down on the game. It's an average game. It's fine. It doesn't really do anything wrong. It just doesn't really do anything amazingly right either. You know, it does have a fresh idea or two in its single player experience, but once again, it's pretty marred by the fact that there's no online multiplayer. And, you know, you can do online multiplayer with Bomberman. They've been doing online Bomberman since, like, the Saturn. No, seriously, like, the Saturn Bomberman had online play. Yeah. And any other comments from the rest of you?
No?
I think I mentioned pretty much everything.
All right. All right, so that'll about do it for Chicken Bomb here. Be sure to tune in after the break as Galax will be reviewing Distraint 2.